Whoa, what the fuck? Yo, Max, look at this. Someone actually did this and uploaded it to YouTube.
They're getting banned.
They're getting banned.
I don't think that's allowed.
Damn, Susan gonna put the hammer down on that bitch.
If we're getting yellow $ for the shit we're uploading, that is getting fucking full termination. There's no way that's staying up.
We should get out of here before someone
I don't
catches
want to
it.
even get near that.
Let's get out of here.
Welcome to Warframe, where we have animals themed like frames like the goat, the dog, the kraken, the thing that shall not be mentioned, the monkey, the dragon, and obviously the bird.
Oh my god. Oh, that is so cute. Chad, come look at this. Have you seen this? Look at this little character. Look at this little guy. Chad,
Max,
look at
I've seen it.
There's a little
I've seen it a million times.
There's a little character.
I've seen it a million times.
Look at it.
Stop!
Have you seen this little guy?
Zephyr was released into Warframe in the Zephyr Rise update, or update 12, and just like how Zephyr is still a great frame in the game currently, and for the most part, Zephyr was a great choice back in 2014, without some minor issues. Like for the fact that the tornadoes made it where like if any enemies that were killed within or outside the tornado's range would still be ragdolled and lift up, which thank god that isn't a thing anymore. And that for some reason, DE thought it was a good idea to have an ability like Dive Bomb where you drop from above when you could do the same thing by just doing a slam attack instead. Oh, and then the fact that for some reason the tornadoes back then were able to do magnetic damage for some reason. But hey, things were different back then. Now we come to update 22.12, where Zephyr would get a rework in 2018, and where DE made the changes to Zephyr's second ability, Dive Bomb, to be fused with Tailwind, so now if the player were to lock down while using Tailwind, you would trigger Dive Bomb. But because of that, DE also decided to make a new ability for Zephyrs too, and that being Airburst. And after a month later, DE would release Zephyr Prime in update 22.16.4. Jesus Christ, that's a fucking mouthful. With alongside with the Turbulence Prime and the Colon Prime, which that used to be my two-go melee, then came the Praetos, and the rest were history. Well, that would be the case if Zephyr didn't get another rework 3 years later, that being in update 29.10 or the Heart of Deimos. The other thing to know about this rework is that Zephyr got a new passive, where if the players are above ground, your primary, secondary, and melee will get an increased critical chance by 150%, and the other thing is that when using Tornado, it not only keeps the ragdolled enemies up in air, as in when you kill enemies within the tornado, those only get dropped down, which...
Thank fuck!
So Tailwind has two parts with this ability, so we'll start with Hoverglide. By holding down the first ability, Zephyr will glide in the air and thus triggering Zephyr's passive, which the player will receive the 150% critical chance bonus, thus again with the primary, secondary, and melee, or if you just tap the ability, it will send you flying, or across the map even, which is great for speedrunning or just quickly passing through the missions in general. And then there's Dive Bomb, which likewise, basically just doing a slam attack. So I've actually never seen anyone use target fixation, but the mod makes it where when using Tailwind, it allows the player to do a bullet jump after casting the ability, and I guess Tailwind gains an increased damage for each hit, and the fact that it doesn't have a damage cap, so in theory, you could actually kill enemies with it, and also probably do damage cap on like a level cap mission, but that would take way too long. Well, maybe not way too long, unless you're taking the full advantage of the FPS in the game, because for those who don't know, apparently there's some things where the game will take advantage of the FPS, meaning that certain damage will do less if you have low FPS, but if you have high FPS, it will do more damage, and, you know, things might do the opposite. So that's Warframe for you. Now, I could do a full length on Airburst, but the shorter version of this is that by holding down the ability, Zephyr will blow away any enemies within a set range, but just tapping the ability instead will pull all nearby enemies, making it a crowd control ability. And then there's Airburst. Now, again, I haven't seen anyone actually use this mod on their build, apart from the fact that it doesn't seem like a bad thing. It's just that there's no space to put it in, so, but I digress. When any enemies are hit with Airburst, regardless of being pushed away or gripped up, it increases the player's secondary damage. But while it has a cap of 500%, having high strength makes getting the damage buff quicker, and having high duration will obviously make the damage buff last longer. Now we come to Zephyr's second best ability within her kit, Turbulence. And unlike other abilities like having an extra layer of armor or straight up damage reduction, Turbulence is more like a deflecting shield, given that the visual is just a gust of wind casted around Zephyr, which, I mean, it's kind of pretty fucking obvious now, isn't it? While Turbulence can deflect most damage types like hit scans, as in like bullets, lasers and direct shots from projectiles like rocket launchers and grenade launchers, the thing to worry about the most is AoE attacks from projectiles and melee attacks from enemies, which obviously can't be deflected. But the main factor is that having max range, or just as much range as possible, is very important, seeing as it will help protect the player from receiving damage in general. And now, for the augment mod that comes with this ability, which is Jetstream. So in short, both the player and any allies nearby will be granted 40% projectile speed and 100% sprint speed, which both strength and range does affect the mod. Now for Zephyr's best ability, Tornadoes. Starting off with the basic, the first is when tapping the ability, it will cause the tornadoes to move and seek any nearby enemies, which will lift them up while also ensuring that tornadoes are within set range to keep said enemies up in the air. But if the players were to hold down the ability, and the other one that matters, in this case, the tornadoes will instead be set in place depending on where the player's reticle is, or I guess crosshair. Now for the augment mod that comes with it. Funnel clouds. So instead of having 3 normal sized tornadoes, instead the tornadoes are now smaller sized, but now you can spawn up to 8 mini tornadoes. Well, actually 11 if you were to cast the ability multiple times. But anyways, some difference is that the mini tornadoes are unable to pick up any enemies, but using Airburst will solve the problem. The other thing is that the mini tornadoes are more faster than the normal sized ones, and that somehow is able to dish out more damage despite its range being lowered. Now it's time for some nerd shit that no one probably cares about. The first is that the tornadoes can adapt to all elements in the game. Basically by shooting either with your primary, secondary, or melee, and by default, it would pick the highest element status element based on your arsenal. As for an example, if the player were to have like fire, Viro, and radiation, but the Viro has the highest stats to proc the element, then the tornadoes will take Viro and make that as its damage choice. And also thus that any enemies that are within the tornado or even picked up by the tornado will receive the Viro damage. Alright, so as always, we'll start with the shards. So I got 3 duration shards, and I've got a energy spawn and a casting speed shard. Now you don't need this one, you can go for 2 casting shards or even if you really want, you can go Parker Velocity, but I don't think you really need that. So I think 2 has speed would be better, but this is just because then I can cast Turbulence on start. Now for the build. Now, the thing is this. The reason why our strength is low is mainly because there's not much of a reason to. Like, again, with Tailwind. Tailwind is like not much of a difference reason. Airburst, no reason. Turbulence, absolutely no reason. Even though, there's no reason. The only thing with Turbulence you need is you need high range. You don't need the max range, which is like, I believe, like 280 in terms of like having mods. So, which I mean, and saying that you can actually take off Auger Reach and Cutting Drift, but that's more just preference. But the only strength that's probably reliant on is Tornado. So it's really like a piston. If you're going to, or you do actually more so, use like Jetstream or even Funnel Clouds, or maybe not Funnel Clouds, maybe just Jetstream, then you absolutely want more strength. Not too much strength, maybe like, I don't know, like around 150 strength, which is plenty enough. They get you enough speed and the projectile increase. Yeah. Adaptation is important. It would be important, and there's a hope Zephyr survive longer. And if you don't have Prime Flow, you could use normal flow, or you could just use Streamline to help reduce the cost of energy, which you could do that. I mean, if you want, if you want to be insane, you could just use Fleeting Speed, but that's only so if you have the Arcane. That gives you more duration the second you use a ability. Well, more like use one ability, then your next ability will go gain the extra duration. So yeah, there's not much to say about this other than there's just, if you're gonna use Jetstream, have strength. If not, this is pretty much the two go. Oh, and then you don't need Precision Intensify. I only have this for Tornado because, well, I don't think it makes a difference. I feel like it does, but who knows? I might just take it out. But yeah, this is the build. Take it as you will. Again, you don't need to copy it entirely. So, but also I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be based on Bronze Knight build, but I could be wrong on that. So take that with a grain of salt.